Welcome to Simpsonstorys, Episode 2. Before you get any strange ideas, this is about a shop and about life for me growing up down in Florida. That's Richard Caldwell. Richie's the guy that sold me the shop. None of these people are Nazis. I'm Jewish myself, and this is business. Richard was a guy who liked to go to gun shows, military shows, sit up and sell stuff. And he sold me on the idea of settling down. I'd been all over the U.S. and wanted to stay in one spot for a change. And this is some of the many items that we have, or had, and some are quite valuable. That sword is about a $4,000 sword now. That gun is about a $4,000 or $5,000 weapon. And items like that were coming in all the time back then. They weren't expensive back then. Then I got into Vietnam stuff. Most of my mentors as a kid growing up had been Vietnam vets, mainly Special Forces operators. Some had even been in SOG, Studies and Observation Group. I collected camouflage, team patches, berets, all that kind of stuff from the war. And one of my early inspirations had been Barry Sadler, the guy who recorded the Ballad of the Green Berets. My dad had been a country music booking artist, and we'd known him during his Nashville years down there in the late 70s. And he used to go to dinner with us and tell me stories and try and teach me things about being an operator in the field and working with diverse and different groups of people. It came in really handy later on when I did go to Russia. That's Jim Shoaff there, who was playing chess with my dad. Jimmy was in SOG. That's his SOG patch. James was also my boss at one time and taught me how to lay tile down in Florida. He's a fantastic man who knew a lot about SOG, and especially how the agency worked with them. That also came in handy later on in knowing how the CIA works with the military for a positive outcome. And that was a bus, and we did travel around the country in it, going to shows and setting up and trading in these military items. We also did coins, binoculars, you name it. It was almost like a pawn shop. We went through a lot of interesting things during those years. And that's my dad opening up. That's Harry Cooper. Harry's wrapping himself in a German flag. Harry was the founder of Shark Hunters. As some of you that are into U-boats might remember Harry. I was also pretty big on U-boat things back in those days. I had a U-boat commanders grouping from Heinrich Blankrod, who was on U-48. Also had some fine weapons in the day. As you can see, those are some fairly expensive items. Harry there is with his son. His son unfortunately lost his life in a boating accident years later. And all of these different edge weapons, as you know, are big money. That binoculars there is like about $4,000. Had different parts off of U-boats, directly off the ones sunk off our own coast. U-853, U-352, U-85. I had at least a few pieces off of each one. And I had probably one of the most advanced collections out there of wreck artifacts during those years. And I also knew a lot about submarine operations, especially the German ones. And there's hats in here. Those hats are like $5,000 to $8,000 now. Helmets, radios, just about anything you can imagine that was military is worth money. We were also buying gold and silver, jewelry, coins, all of that type of stuff. These are kids that my brother knew down there that lived in the neighborhood that liked to dress up and play around when they'd get liquored up on weekends. There's a couple Russian guys clowning around with swords. Me with a rare first edition of Playboy. Those patches, they were like $25 back then. They're like $200 plus now. Posters directly from Russia before the wall came down. Yuri Andropov, head of the KGB, who went on to be the premier. His portrait hung over my desk. Some of them scare the bejesus out of me even now, looking back on them. Not in their content, but in their reality. The reality of what you're looking at. It's a rare G41 rifle. About $4 to $6 grand nowadays, if you can even find one. It's getting to the point now in some of these things where they don't even pop up anymore. You go a year or two before you see something. That's me as a young man. That's one of the girlfriends of mine, another one, Carrie and Connie. And that was the car we drove, 73 Olds. Thing would do like 120 mile an hour down the highway. Amazing beast of an automobile. Never forget it. And we never paid much for it. You'd probably still find a clunker somewhere. It's got like an airplane engine in it. The thing's that powerful. Photos of me clowning around in my own uniforms back in that time period that I played around in. I was not in the military. There was no stolen valor back in those years, thank God. All I was doing was playing out in the woods. That's my mother, my grandmother, and my brother. And that's his dog, Satan. He named it Satan, so Mom would have to scream that name in the neighborhood and drive the neighbors crazy. Our grandparents and my brother. That's John Pittsenbargar, another Green Beret that was a mentor of mine from afar. Got to meet him a couple different times. He's a nice guy. I believe he's the brother, cousin, or something of the Medal of Honor winner from the Air Force, the pararescue guy, Pittsenbargar. That's me, young man, rebel without a clue. My brother, playing around drunk. Me, doing my impersonation of Danny from 5-0, I guess. I certainly looked the part. Again, clowning. Those uniforms, the black ones, maybe $8 grand now. The hat alone's like 10. Me, playing guitar. Had a lot of guitars back in the day. Still have one kicking around the house. And I write songs, and that's something else you'll see on here, some of my music. Me again, my brother. I'm going to shy away from the music as a background on this video because I haven't mastered yet how to turn it up or down, so that I'm not having to fight the music to be heard. But we'll figure it out down the road, and you may actually get to hear music someday to this. We'll see. I'm learning. It's all baby steps, right? We all are learning our way through this. And so am I with this video. Girlfriends back in the day. It's my girlfriend, Sherry. My brother, Bob Melfi there. I think it was John somebody anyway my brother was playing around with there. And that's Carrie. And that is the house we lived in. Got a grapefruit tree in the backyard, lime tree. Wonderful. Me again. And that's me. Say goodnight. Me again. I was definitely ready to go. In those years, I was courted by a number of recruiters. So was my brother. My brother ended up going. I stayed behind at the time because my dad was extremely ill. Died a terrible death, slowly, of cancer. And that's me. My Confederate hat. And that's my brother when he went into the Army. And Rhonda, girlfriend of mine. Julie, another one. And that's Jenny. She broke my heart, but they're all heartbreakers, right? That's me before I went to Russia with the guy I went to Russia with, Glenn Lowe. And that's a live bear in a cage. This is special note. This is material from Oscar Koch. My dad had known Koch. Both had been in World War II. Koch was the G2 for Patton. And when he passed, his family sold the items on to me. And I ended up getting just everything there, along with some Patton material. There were things like autographed pictures from George Patton. There was a coat belonging to him. A flag autographed by him and Zhukov. A number of photos autographed again by Patton. And there was a special photo album made in Germany. That white photo album there. Along with all of his decorations that were in a wonderful wooden case. A Russian uniform he brought back, captured. A whole bunch of different insignia, endless insignia. This guy kept everything from the day he was in to the day he was out. His ribbon bar. His medals, again, it's him at Bastogne overlooking the map with Patton. All of his stuff when he commanded the 25th Infantry in Korea for a while. And autographed photo of George. All kinds of stuff, you know. And I had the